So, somewhere in the world right now, a girl is getting shit on in a video. And that's her job. And she's getting paid to get shit on. And then there's another guy, I'm just going to assume it's a guy, who's editing this. And that's his job. And he's getting paid to edit the best possible scenes of this girl getting shit on. A few weeks later, after this video gets uploaded onto a website, it's somebody's job to moderate that episode and see how many hits it gets and to generate revenue. Also, somebody at work, at their office job, is in their cubicle and they're sneaking, looking at this video during their job, during their work. And it's either a joke amongst everybody or this is a serious fetish that made his day. So, it's all about work and how hard you can work. And I'm looking at your face right now, and I want to know what you want to say after I say, this is Coffee and Catastrophe with Brent and Gabi.
I had no idea that's what you were going to say. And as soon as you started making noise, I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? And then, you revealed the purpose of that story and that a person gets shit on for a living. And, yeah, that is, work. You can get a job doing many things, including editing, fetish videos and, getting shit on for a living. So yeah, work. How do you like work? How long have you worked? How long have you been a member of the workforce?
I've been a member of the workforce for about 11 years now. My first job was at Jimmy John's in 2007. Before that, I don't know if you would consider it work, but I remember my uncle had me working at his little plumber shop. And I got to learn like underground rough and trim and like some like plumber terminology. And I got to clean the warehouse and he would give me like $20 here and there. I don't know if I would consider that a job, but we were hanging out. But my first actual like W-2 was from Jimmy John's. And I felt like I was being shit on at that job. So instead of actually having turds, like instead of laying in a bathtub and having turds fall on my face like, bowling balls from the sky, it was, I guess I felt the way I was treated. But I was a really shitty worker. I didn't put in a lot of time and effort into caring about the job, and I wasn't really good at it, and I didn't have a good work ethic to it. So, but yeah, dude, a lot of people have jobs that they just find to be really shitty. And have you ever had like a shitty job?
So my first job was at Six Flags as a attractions associate, which is basically like the demon spawn of the rides and games department, and you would like have specific games to play. That was a shitty job because it was like in the heat or in the cold during the winter time, and like the people who I worked with, there was like people my age that were cool, and then there was like people in their like mid 20s and 30s, and their whole life and job was working at Six Flags, and it was like, oh my god, I can't believe this is your existence. But that was bad. And then honestly, I think the worst like stress wise and like was working when I was a retail manager, when I was assistant manager at a store. It was just like, oh, the amount of stress that I was not prepared for, because I'd worked at another retail store, but it was smaller, same responsibilities, but at a different pace. And like, oh my god, it was not worth the fucking money. And it was just so fucking stressful. That was just shitty.
Oh, man. There's really, like, is there a profession where, you know what I'm saying? Like, is there something that we do that there's absolutely no profession for? You know what I'm saying?
Like, what do you mean?
So, like, any act that we could think of. So, like, okay, like, obviously, like, customer service, working with people, working by yourself, working at a computer, working at a desk, speaking. Sitting down and being quiet and watching something is a fucking job.
Yes.
Complaining about what you watched is a job, too. Yeah, so, like, is there just an act that is off limits in terms of being a profession? That's not including child porn.
Ew. What about, well, you used the example of somebody being defecated on, so I guess there's a fetish for everything. Anyone get paid to drive? Truck drivers.
Yeah, Uber drivers,
taxi drivers.
DoorDash, Amazon. The mail.
Oh, the mail's here. I can't think of anything. Dude, you can even hire people to set up your furniture. I just found that out. You can pay people to come over and build your furniture. Or, like, what is that app or website, TaskMe? You can, like, literally hire people to, like, do whatever if they sign up for it.
Dude, I'm trying to really think. Like, there's even a job where you go to a public bathroom and there's a guy sitting on a stool there inhaling people's farts.
Yeah, the bathroom attendant.
Like
gives you a towel, sees if you need anything.
And he's just breathing in farts all day like a car exhaust pipe, in the garage,
I don't think I would like that job at all. No, I really think that you can pay someone to do virtually anything. Yeah. Repair, fix, clean, anything really. Now, if you had your choice though, what's your dream job?
Oh God, it would have to do something with comedy. It would either be a stand-up comedian, it would either be part of like some sort of show, either TV or like skit comedy show, or even like voice acting. I wouldn't want to be a comedy writer because I've heard those jobs are very taxing. Like the writers at SNL, like God bless them all, because they like pretty much kill themselves just coming up with skits like every single week.
Yep.
And something with comedy and like with spoken word would be my dream job. I don't know what it would be, because I would be like, if it turned out that I would never be like, my dream is to be a stand-up comedian, but if it turned out I would never hit that mark, I would be like really cool with doing voice acting, or even like something with radio, or hell, even like podcasting. Just something where I'm using my voice, thoughts, and creativity at all times.
I think my ideal is like if I could just be creative for my whole life. And that's not to say that like teaching, I can't be creative, because like I love building curriculum. Like honestly, if I was going to be in the world of education but not a classroom teacher, I'd want to do curriculum building. But that's also really skeevy, because like, here's the thing. Teachers that are worth their salt build the curriculum for their kids. And like the people who like just buy curriculum, I don't think very highly of. But if I could honestly just get paid to like write teaching books, or like talk about teaching, like I think actually one day I might want to be like a professor of teaching, even though that doesn't pay very well. Like I really loved like all the professors I had in college, and I think that'd be really cool to go back and like prepare teachers and work with pre-service teachers. But yeah, so maybe my ideal is like music and being creative with like making money and a living off of music, podcasting, art, anything like that, and then also being able to give back to like teachers or education somehow. Like that is my ideal.
Would you ever find yourself in a position to where you're lecturing, or let's just say like you're going up in front of like a audience and you're just giving like a speech, or maybe even like a TED Talk or something like that?
I mean, I could. I don't think that it'd be like I'm really good at public speaking and that kind of thing, but I don't think that's my ideal. Like even as a college professor, like especially of teaching, like no, lecturing is only good for like when you need to quickly get a body of knowledge like down, but like you should be actively like working through things or putting people through like activities or something like that. Like, so I couldn't see myself like if I was going to be a teacher, a professor of teaching, which I'm qualified to do with my master's, like then it would have to be like, yeah, it'd have to be like it'd be an active thing, but I would definitely be a professor one day of teaching.
Like, if let's just say you were strapped for cash, or let's just say that $100 million was involved, would you make one video where you were being shit on in a bathtub?
If I could make how much?
$100 million.
It's on the internet?
Yeah. So, like, pretty much, like, you would just be you, and you'd be going, like, or, like, however you'd make that sound, and then, like, you would just have shit being, like, air dropped on you.
The thing that I don't like is that it's on the internet. Like, if it was, like, a guy who was like, can I shit on you in a bathtub and I'll give you $100 million? I'd say, cut me the check let it clear, and then you can shit on me.
So like a fan, let's just say a fan of the podcast stopped you in the street and said like, Gabby, I just want to say that like, you're just so gorgeous. Can I please shit on you for money?
It's funny that you said gorgeous was the thing you picked up on, because this is a podcast and no one knows what we look like, unless they figured that out. But like, it would be cut me the check, let it clear, and then you can shit on me.
So is there any act that you would not do for any amount of money?
Is there an act I would not do for any amount of money?
Regardless of like there's no limits on the act.
Yeah, I don't know if I could prostitute myself. Like, I don't think I could do that. Like, I think you're making this face. I don't think I could be a prostitute. I think I would be a horrible, like, I couldn't act like it was fine or dandy, and I would just not be into it, and it'd all just be horrible. I couldn't be a prostitute. I don't think I could sell drugs either.
So for $100 million, you'd have someone take a shit on you, but you couldn't pick up a John.
No, exactly.
Oh, man.
I could, like, potentially let someone defecate on me for $100 million, but if they're like $100 million and we have sex, and I'm like, nah, that's the line.
There was oh my God, what was the name of it? I think it was called Hookers at the Point. Yeah, Hookers at the Point. And it was an HBO documentary series that followed like hookers. Are you familiar with it, or have you seen it?
I haven't. I'm not familiar with it at all.
It followed like just the lives of these hookers, and I can't remember what city. And it's been I watched this as a kid, so
of course you did.
And it was fascinating. And there was this one customer. She was like, I don't really like go out and have sex like with one client, because this one client just pays me to like yank his teeth out with a wrench, and there's no sex involved whatsoever. Yeah.
Like even like I couldn't be like, if someone was like, Gabby, I want you to like tie me up and whip me and tell me I'm a disgusting piece of shit. Like, I couldn't do that. Like, that's not in my personality at all. I would like end up crying. That's what would happen.
God, but there's prostitutes that do all this weird shit. Like, probably the weirdest thing a prostitute does that's the most common is maybe cuddle instead of sex. I mean, but that's like probably the saddest.
Well, aren't you not? I thought you were not supposed to do that with your clients.
Well, I mean,
because like
I don't know like the difference between like a regular prostitute versus an escort service woman. I mean, technically,
well, the escort sex is not supposed to be included in the money.
No, it's like Dallas Buyers Club. You're not buying like the AIDS medicine. You're buying memberships where you're getting the medicine. Kind of like when an escort girl, you're buying their time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And then, you know, sometimes they choose to do additional things.
Yeah, but they probably get paid like, okay, no sex, but can you just dig a high heel into my belly button and then kick my balls until they bleed?
Till I bleed. Tell me I'm a piece of shit. I would not be able to do that. I would not be able to do that.
You know what's fucked up is that there's nobody that... I wonder if there's somebody that wants that and is also cheap.
Like, I want you to beat the shit out of me. Tell me I'm a disgusting asshole. But I want you to do it for only $100.
Yeah. But, like, from what I understand, like, the people that have the most fucked up shit happen to them, like that one hooker from Hookers on the Point, she got, like, I think hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars to yank this guy's teeth out. But can you imagine, like, a guy, like, wanting to have that happen and haggling at the same time? Just like, okay, wait a minute. You only did it for 20 minutes, and there's an hour, and I was going to give you $90, so I think you're only getting $30 for kicking me in the balls.
The price haggling. It's like, what's the going rate for a guy to get his balls kicked in around here? One job or bit of work that I've just recently... decided that I kind of want to do someday is interior design, because on Hulu there's this show, which is on HGTV, or was, Fixer Upper. Have you watched that?
No, I just like the segue from kicking balls to interior design.
It really, it's a sensible, logical segue if you ask me, but you didn't ask me, so. But because I'm like putting together like a down payment for like a condo or whatever, I'm like watching like HGTV and how to like get design ideas. And my mom always watched HGTV when I was growing up, and I was like, I fucking hate this shit. But the goddess of like the past few years has been Joanna Gaines, and she has like, they have like lots of like money and other businesses or whatever. But like, I see that and I'm like, I would love to just have people give me money and then I can spend it and design a room for them.
I had that thought a few years ago, not a few years ago, but more recently. To me, a few years ago is always like maybe last month. But like, I don't know, remodeling houses. Like, I was looking at like my parents' house. I'm like, you know something? I would like knock out this wall and like turn it into like a bar setup, like with this little ledge for like a kitchen table with stools instead of having the pantry. That, you know, I'm like little shit like that, and I'm like, fuck, I'm getting old.
That's okay. And I was about to say the same. Like, I know I'm like getting older because HGTV is like a thing I want to watch now, but only Fixer Upper. I can't stand like any other show, and I don't know why. It's just, I think, the allure of Joanna Gaines. She's big.
I even do that, like, in my own room. Like, every 2 to 3 months, I completely change the setup of my room.
I don't know how you do that. My mom's the same way.
Every single, like, I do a massive clean. Sometimes I get rid of a lot of stuff, or sometimes I'm like, you know something? I'll put my DVD tower in this place, in this corner of the room, or I'll have my desk over here, or I'll do this, I'll do that. Like, it's a sickness, and like usually when I do it, I'm always compromising something, and I've never been 100% happy because I have way too much shit for what I want to do. Like, I'm always like, well, I have to now pull out my chair and then open my desk, and like, or slide my desk open in order to use the desk, or I have to put this over there, or I don't have full access to my closet, so I just always have to feel like I'm in like a different space. I'm thankfully not like that with jobs, though. Like, I'm actually very glad that I'm secure in both jobs that I have right now.
Yeah, actually, I was thinking about like the inverse of like the shittiest job we've ever had. For the best job I've ever had, it's the writing center that we met at. Like, I love working at that college, and like that was my favorite job I've ever had, because every day I felt like I helped somebody. It was awesome.
Oh yeah, especially like at some of the campuses. Like, there's 3 separate campuses, and the one that's near the more
urban environment. It's considered a satellite city, like an urban environment.
Yeah, but like, you meet the people of the community. Like, you feel like you're part of a community, and you get to know these people.
Yeah, and especially at that campus, they're so grateful, and like, oh, they're so sweet, and like.
I have this analogy, like, at the main campus, I feel like we're prostitutes. The students come in, they use us, they leave. But then at the, like, at the, you know, other campus, like, we're still prostitutes. They come in, they use us, but they want to, like, cuddle afterwards.
They're very grateful. They, like, thank us for our services. They're very appreciative. And I remember, like, meeting people that, like, it was like, I was so excited every time they came in. I was so excited to like have them learn and like work together, and I knew about their life and their kids and like whatever. It's just like so good. It's just so good. But yeah, that's my favorite job I've ever had. Not that I don't like teaching. I think the thing that I don't like about teaching is that like with any profession, like it takes you about 3 to 5 years to really get down pat like your practice and like be like like some of the best years of teaching starts at like year 5, and like I'm in year 2 and I'm like, I fucking suck, I don't know what I'm doing.
Like, the best thing that I learned about teaching, or at least tutoring, whatever you want to call what I do, is when I first started out, I was really insecure because I thought I had to know all the answers. And even now, doing it for this will be like, actually this month is my 10th year.
That's awesome.
Of being at the college and doing like a teacher, like / tutor role. And I love it. But what I'm thinking of is it has nothing to do with like pedagogy, at least on my end. What you're doing is you are exploring, I don't know, almost like a therapist. You're exploring what the problem is, but instead of with them, with their assignment.
Yeah.
And you guys are having a conversation, and a lot of the times the kids are very emotionally invested and scared with their assignment because they don't know what the teacher wants, or sometimes they even have like these personal problems that are so grand. And what happens is they think, oh, I'm a bad writer. But It turns out is that their life sucks. And that's carrying over into the bad writer. Like, I don't know if I've mentioned her on the podcast, but I worked with a student just this last semester who came in and every student that comes into the writing center says this. They say, I'm a bad writer. And I'm like, yeah, sure you are. So I went and I read her writing, and she was very good. And then she went, and then we were just talking, and, like we had a lot of good back and forth. And then she just opened up to me and said that, like, her parents would disown her if they found out her sexuality.
Oh, yeah.
So, so I'm a bad writer is not the truth. I have a very complicated home relationship, and it's pouring over into my, every other potentially good aspect of my life. That's a lot more accurate. And
well, it's also true to say that, like, there's a lot of people who don't know how to teach writing or teach it in the way that it should be taught. Like, rather than focusing on, like, voice and rhetorical grammar and an organization and structure and argumentation, people are so concerned with, first you have an an introduction. It has your claim. Then you transition into your first body paragraph. Well, that sucks. That's formulaic and horrible. That's not what writing is. Writing is much more fluid and cool. And, like, that's the problem, is that no one teaches it that way.
That's funny, because that's what I do. I teach it formulaically. But what I do is I say, my method is, it's kind of like saying, like, if you had milk and cereal, like milk and Cheerios, and I said, puke out only the Cheerios and not the milk, it's impossible to do. So, like, my approach is, what you do is you edit. You don't write, you edit, because there's no such thing as great writing. There's such a thing as great editing.
Yeah.
Kind of like the example I use is J.K. Rowling. I said J.K. Rowling didn't write that entire series on her first draft, and it was clean and everything. I said, no, like, it was probably like a sloppy, almost unreadable mess until it became what it had become. So I say, like, you just get this gut feeling, go from your gut straight to the pen, and then use your brain to edit it, because academic writing is formulaic. And it's very, like, there's no room for, at least my philosophy.
Yeah.
There's not as much room for personality if you have to keep it within structure. You could make it into a stylistic structure.
Well, and now we have the question, is academic writing good writing?
No.
Not always, right? Sometimes it's good. Other times it's very formulaic and, like, boom, 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 boom. Whereas, like, my perspective is, like, we do need to have when we do, like, an intro, body, conclusion style, when we do that, we're basically teaching the form, but there's freedom in the form. Like, yes, everyone knows that we have to have sort of an introduction, we have to have a body, and your ideas need to flow with transitions and eventually conclude or whatever. But, like, that's the form, but we can inject it with so much life and energy and vitality, and, like, no one's doing that.
No. I think a lot of the teachers don't say that because they do stick with the formula, and I do understand that. I want to embrace people's individuality. I think writing is thinking.
It is. Writing is thinking, and reading are thinking. They're both highly complex cognitive acts.
Yeah, it's like it's a documented record of your thought process, and
yes.
I think like the intro, body, conclusion formula helps to organize your thoughts. But just because it is within that format, I've read essays that were very articulate and perfect within the format, but they were some of the most boring papers I've read because it was literally formulaic to the T. It's kind of like with music. You've ever heard, like, a formulaic, like, rock song?
Yeah, like, oh man, even, like, the formula of, like, Marilyn Manson, all of his songs, like, his choruses, it's 2 lines repeated over and over again. That's all it is. And then the form of it is, like, guitar part, verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus. Like, there's not, like, really a bridge or, like, a big, like, sweeping moment. It's not like fucking Coheed and Cambria or even Mars Volta, like, or anything experimental. Like, it's not that, which those 2 bands, like, aren't, like, super experimental, but, it's not like that.
Yeah, I mean, you find the same with film. I saw this movie recently. I would highly recommend you guys go out there and see it. I don't know if it'll still be in theaters by the time this podcast goes public, but it's called 8th Grade, and it's directed by Bo Burnham, who's a stand-up comedian. And I only saw his first stand-up special when he was, like, 18 years old, which is fairly recent, but the movie is a character study. Mm-hmm. So a typical, like, hero story. Okay, like the Marvel movies. Every single Marvel movie has a 3-act structure. They have the catalyst, which is, the event that happens that sets the plot that sets up the plot. The inciting incident starts the plot, so it's usually based off of a character decision. And what happens is there's like a turning point one where the character leads up, and then this happens, and then there's like a midpoint where there's kind of some obscurity, but it's not necessarily a turning point. And then it goes to turning point two, and then there's a climax, which is the most intense part of the movie, and then there's a resolution. Eighth grade doesn't do any of that. It just observes this eighth grade girl, like in her mindset and what her life is like, having social anxiety and like just going through the motions. So like through the end of so when you go and see Iron Man, yeah, I'm Tony Stark, you think, Iron Man, the movie, like, okay, will he get the bad guy at the end of the movie? So the whole movie is the journey to that end, and then the question is answered yes or no, like at the climax, and the resolution is like, yeah, well, I just killed the bad guy, and, I'm a millionaire playboy, Iron Man, I just broke that, I could pay for it, no problem, call me, okay, hey, Captain America, what are you doing? Next time in the Avengers universe, Captain America, and all that bullshit. But the movie in eighth grade, the movie Eighth Grade was so powerful because it was just able to like isolate that feeling, and I think writing can be like that too. And there's a lot of great writing such as like poetry and like just like narrative stories. But academic writing, I've never read a paper that was without of the academic essay. But at the end of the day, what sucks is that the teachers give out a syllabus and they have to like remain within their structure, even though I'm like, dude, like this is like a great piece of work. But I always, at the end of the day, have to say, you have to put this in the three, like intro, body, conclusion structure, because your teacher will probably not give you all the points as per these guidelines.
Yeah, it depends on the assignment. It depends on the professor. Like you and I both know, like there's been times where like kids have come in with papers and they're like, am I going to get an A on this? And you're like, I think it looks good. Like you followed the parameters of the assignment or whatever, but it depends on what the professor is looking for. Now, kind of bridging these two talks about writing and work, is there ever a time you think when writers, like if that's their job, like when I was in college, there was like I took a workshop on fiction writing, and his job, he was an author. He every day got up and from the hours of 8 to 2 o'clock or 8 to 3 forced himself to write. And that was his work. That's how he made his money. And he taught writing and workshops and everything on the side. And it's like, do you think that those creative pursuits, there's ever times where like, because you and I are like, oh my God, being creative, it's so much fun. But does that ever feel like work? You know what I mean? Like there's a difference between like passion, I love this thing, and like it feels like work. It's draining. It's this or it's that.
I want to make sure I'm understanding your question correctly. So basically, like, through any of my creative endeavors, have I felt like it was draining and work?
Like, it was work. It was not like, there's times, like, when we're editing this podcast where I'm like, this is work. And, like, the hard thing is people don't get that, like, because you're working for yourself. So people are like, oh, it's great. It's fantastic. You should be so happy and, like, in love with what you're doing. And it's like, it's still fucking work at a certain point.
Oh, God. I mean, there are certain... Well, with me, I like the very introverted, meticulous, boring, mindless jobs. And I see editing as like that. But I also see editing as, like, very productive and kind of like building Lego. So when we're editing this podcast, I'm listening to it and I'm like, I gotta... smooth over my dumbass, like clearing my throat or coughing, or maybe like, like the microphone went out, or, every time I say, or just, have like a long pause, I'm trying to make it as listenable as I possibly can. And it takes me hours. So this episode might be an hour, hour and a half long, and it's probably gonna take me 3 hours to edit it because I comb over every single detail, but I'm an editor. The only time I've ever felt like I was doing work within a creative endeavor was when I was in film school, and I was on set for something I had no creative part in, and I was just like the boom operator.
Yeah.
But
and then you're like, this is just a job.
Yeah. I mean, it's cool being like on set with people, and you're engaging with the personalities, and there's something about having that energy where everybody in the room is creative.
Yeah.
I've never been in any other environment where you're just in a room filled with only creative people than when you are in a film set. And it's great because they understand the struggle and they all have like their unique personalities and everyone's just like stinking and sweating and everyone's starving. They haven't eaten all day. And then the Little Caesars pizza comes because that's all like that the producer could afford. And I'm going to borrow your dad's line, mow that pizza down. And it feels like it's work when you're not contributing, like, in a meaningful way. And that's why I think a lot with, like, shitty jobs, like, when you are in a position to where you feel that you're expendable, that's when it starts to feel more like work.
I think it feels like work as well when it's like grinding and it has like no sense, like when you don't have that motivation that day or it's like not coming to you. Like I think with music, the one thing I don't get is like when, like if my job was like I was hired by a record company to like be a songwriter, like your job is to sit down and produce songs. Like I don't know on what scale, like daily, weekly, or whatever. Like if someone was just like, sit down and write me a song, I'd be like, oh, well, I've got this stuff already. Like, no, new song. And I'm like, okay. What the fuck am I right about? Like, I can't just sit down and, like, I have to feel something and then, like, write down or, like, start writing or whatever. Like, I couldn't just do that. Like, I don't even know. Like, I'm in awe sometimes of, like, people who make records and then they're just, like, I guess they get inspired by things and they're like, let's do this and let's do this and let's do this. Like, techs or sound engineers and producers. Like, they always have, like, an ear and, like, they want to do things. I'm like, how does that not feel like at a certain point are you just like, oh, this is kind of grinding or like, but at the same time, I think if you always love it, then it doesn't feel like work, right?
I think so. Also, if the routine doesn't get to you, and that's what I really like about working with my warehouse job is because even though like we go through phases, so for instance, phase 1 is we have 10 minutes, it's called stand-up. We just discuss what the plan is for the day. And then we execute the plan. And then we unload the truck. Then we sort all the packages. And then the drivers come. We stage the routes for the drivers to come pick up. And then the drivers come and we all have our little roles. Sometimes they switch day to day. Sometimes we are at least reliable in that role enough to where we can do it every time. And like for the past 2 months, I've been doing the same 2 roles every time. But even though it's the same 2 roles, it feels different every day. Because, you know, when you're inducting packages or when you're talking with the drivers, like you get to know the drivers too, and you know it's really cool. But then then there's cleanup and then there's lunch break and then you're winding down, so there's at least some sort of like chaos like within that because you don't know what's going to happen.
If you like chaos, you should be a teacher.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't mind being a teacher as well. I always wanted to teach a class about pro wrestling, like not necessarily like at first it was the history, cool. But now like the philosophy behind it. So for instance, like extracting greater meaning out of professional wrestling, because a lot of people they don't. I mean, obviously it's not high sophistication form of art, but it is a form of, you know, they have all of these stories that are present in every other. Like they have fucking biblical stories.
Yeah.
Like the Cain and Abel. There's a wrestler named Cain.
Yeah.
And he's the fucking Undertaker's brother.
Yeah.
You know? And he's coming back and he's vengeful and he hates his brother. It's biblical shit right there. And then you got like the betraying king, and you got like there's just so much. Like, and you got like the wise patriarch, and like you just have all these stories within pro wrestling. And if you
archetypes and
like every single character, if presented accurately, has like it fulfills that archetype, and the ones that fall through the cracks are the ones that don't fulfill the archetype.
Very true.
And I would love to have like a semester long like examination, like where I would just show CM Punk versus John Cena at Money in the Bank 2011, or
so good,
and just like go about like, you know, like just the storyline behind that, or even like 2 years ago, like Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho for the United States Championship, and how that's reflected on like, you know, current like mainstream like the mainstream like feminist movement. Like I would just like want to have like these students like write papers and like criticisms and not like push anything, but just this, like the only thing I would push is just like look deeper at this, and it's not just people hitting each other over the heads with chairs, because it's easily trivialized like that. But You know,
but
I would
it's
love to teach.
deeper, but it's more. Yeah. I love like I love like that, like when you see like that growth, that spark, that creativity, that inspiration, the engagement, like that's the best part of teaching. And it's hard because like I love teaching high schoolers because they're capable of doing the thing. Like I want to see them like get argumentation. I want to see like the light bulbs turn on at certain points, and like the hard part is that like, so, you know, teenagers are they're becoming who they are as people, and there's times when like you're trying to do something and they're like, nah bitch, I ain't doing that today. Or like, nah bitch, I ain't feeling that. And like you just kind of have to be like, all right, I'm trying my best here, like trying to engage you. I was actually thinking a lot about like the rights and responsibilities of students, because I want my kids to write a class constitution and like literally break down what are your rights as a student, what are your responsibilities as a student. Like, for example, this is like explicit. Kids have the right to fail. Kids have the right to not do their work. Kids have the right to, you know, not apply themselves. And then they have to kind of be responsible for the consequences of their actions. Like, you didn't do the reading. You didn't apply yourself here or there. That's your right. But you have to be responsible for what happens in the long run with it, or something like that. That's the very extreme end of it, or whatever. The inverse of it is how hard you work is how hard you get, like, the rewards or whatever. Like, yeah, but that's just, like, one thing. So, work. Do you have a career in mind that you'd like to pursue in your lifetime?
I was thinking about going back to college and pursuing a career in body therapy. Because my dream is to be a comedian, but I mean, I don't know how to monetize that over time, and I would have to be like through luck, you know, so
there's always an element of luck to it, for sure.
Yeah, so especially like with the arts, because it's kind of like a leap of faith and you just keep on falling, you know, and like some people get caught and some people, you know, just keep falling and like it just doesn't work out. So, I think if I were to live my life knowing that I at least tried, I think I would be more okay with that than having that 1 hour HBO special live at the Beacon Theater.
Yeah.
But I think body therapy is something that I would want to get into. Diamond Dallas Page, who's a former wrestler, he recently has this thing called DDP Yoga, Diamond Dallas Page Yoga. And there's two other wrestlers, Jake the Snake Roberts and Scott Hall, or AKA Razor Ramon. They were the wrestlers in the wrestling like world that were pretty much supposed to be dead. There's a documentary called Beyond the Mat where Jake the Snake Roberts is smoking crack in a hotel bedroom.
Oh my god.
And he like took all these elephant tranquilizers and he was living a very miserable and destructive life, like just through his like drug addictions. And he'd have moments where he would sober up and then fall in. And then once DDP came along, there's a movie on the Netflix called The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. So it starts off where he takes Jake and just rehabs Jake. He takes him into his basement where he has like a yoga studio set up and all these exercise equipment. So he called this, and Jake lived with DDP, and he called this the accountability crib. And then he had, you know, Jake, you know, get on a better diet, and Jake lost 50 pounds, and he did yoga, and he actually got his life together, and he slipped a few times. Like, there's a scene where he had got a call from Jake, and he's at the airport, and then Jake's just wandering around the airport, and he's questionably under the influence. He just doesn't have his shoes on, and he doesn't know where he left them. So,
oh my!
And then he goes back, but I've also read a book that really kind of opened my eyes to like the world of trauma called The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk.
I've heard about that book.
That is the holy Bible of trauma books, as far as I know, because I haven't seen any other book that it was such an all-encompassing book about trauma. And they do talk about how body therapy, you know, someone who has PTSD, they're not remembering, they're reliving through the situation. So, but in order to bring them back to the present moment, what you're doing is you're having them take control of their bodies. So, for instance, everyone who does experience trauma, like even like military veterans, they carry their trauma somewhere on the body. So for instance, it could be their hands, their back, it could be, you know, like their face, like wherever it is. And then like through yoga and body therapy, you find a way to reorient them into the present. So I'm still trying to figure out like, you know, what that will look like for my body before I start telling other people what to do with theirs. So you were the first person I've ever done yoga with. So
This is true.
And I do appreciate you teaching me, and I'm definitely going to get back on track with that once the semester starts again. And I've so far lost 44 pounds.
That's awesome.
On this diet I've been on for the past few months. So I'm going to keep trying to do that. And if I can make a career out of like that, like what I would intend on doing is make either like me and a partner, either like my, wife or like just a business partner. We take a person in, like, who is either recovering or like they want to get better, and just pretty much do what DDP did to Jake. And they'll like just like have all of this knowledge and go back to school with psychotherapy and, body therapy and like working through trauma and stuff. So,
and then basically like rebuild that person like there with you.
Yeah. And then like just kind of have like a rehabilitation program that's, more personalized and like I don't know, we just take them down into the dungeon and then they go we walk them through their darkness, and then they come out like on the other side
hardcore.
Like that's what I would really like now in my life, what I would want to aspire to do. I never, like, if you told me 10 years ago, yeah, Brent, you're going to want to be doing body therapy and stretches and yoga, and you'd be like, get the fuck out of here. That's what my 20-year-old self would have said. But I think in terms of practicality, that might be what I would want to do. And also, I wouldn't mind like just giving lectures, like, or just like being a professor, or passing on like not necessarily knowledge, but a different perspective to problem solving, which is what I do with the writing tutor job. Is because I don't know anything more than I did even 10 years ago. I could recognize patterns more like when I see them and what the problem really is. But I think what has really helped all of the, I would say even well over 1,000 sessions that I've had, is that I gave the student a different perspective to see the assignment. And just from that perspective, not even my knowledge, because like, if you say, Brent, write a 10-page essay, yeah, I can do it, but I still need to I need to have a tutor look at myself. So, but yeah, I think just kind of like being rooted in helping people, and like even in my volunteer experience, I actually like use lectures to help. So like I'm like, with my volunteer work, I'm not going to say what I do or where I go, but I basically meld the best of both worlds. I go out and I give lectures, and some of those lectures help people, but I also do it in a comedic way, which is usually something that you would not expect from the content that I'm talking about, but because I'm able to bring humor to it, people are able to understand it more. And even through my experience, I've really seen change in people approaching us after the talks, and they admitted to us like, very horrific things, and they were ready to take the first step to get back on track with their lives. So that feels really good, because it's not self-serving in the fact that, I want to make people feel good and just keep recycling. But those are the tools I was given, and that's what I'm good at. My craft is doing goofy shit, and I've made an impact on people's lives just by being present and offensive and funny, but I'm just trying to find a way to monetize that. And even though I work at a warehouse and at a college, I'm not miserable at either job. And I hate, it's weird to say, but I kind of love both places I work at. And I never thought I would say that, but it's true. And I really do, man. But
if I could make as much money teaching as I did at the writing center, I would work at the writing center for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah.
Like, that is just the best fucking job ever. The people are amazing. The students are amazing. Like, it's all fucking phenomenal. Teaching pays a lot better though. Sadly, I guess. I don't know.
So how about you? What's your life? Like, what do you want? Like, what's your soul want, dude?
Dude, my soul wants to make music for a living and like have that lifestyle of like creativity and being able to like make a living off of my art or whatever. But I think what's essential to my being is I have like a caregiving nature and a caretaking nature, and which is part of the reason that like teaching works. And like, I mean, I was drawn to psychology because I thought about being a psychology teacher as well as maybe a psychologist someday. always like working with people. But now as I've been older, it was funny on our last episode that we recorded, you said like, I'm getting to like relive my youth or like be youthful finally in a weird way. And, part of that is like, yeah, like exploring art and trying to see how I can make money off of it. Like, I think that I've never done it before, so I don't know how I'll like it, but I think it's really appealing to like travel the world and like impact people with music. 'Cause like, that's like to make people like, to like connect with people and touch people like through words and art is like the goal that I have. And like having an impact is what I like need to do before I leave this planet. And so like teaching is a good way to make an impact, because every single day, again, like it can be really hard because especially like, you know, they're at home 16 hours of the day, 8 of which I hope they're sleeping. So sometimes I see them longer and for a more amount of time than their own parents. So in that way, if you want to have a direct impact, teaching is one thing that you can do easily to like help, you know, make the world a better place or whatever. I wish the pay would reflect the severity of that job and that position. And I think the teaching programs are getting better and better. So eventually maybe we'll have enough money to reflect that. I met a woman this summer who was like, you know, they should really pay teachers what they pay administrators. And I'm like, hallelujah. Yes, I would love that. But it's not all about money in the end. And anyone will tell you that. So while I like teaching and I like that, I just feel like so I've done the teaching thing now for a year. Now it's time to like do the music thing, because I know that if I didn't do that, I would not be a complete person. And like it's like the thing that makes me feel alive, and that like I don't want to say that I have purpose, but well, yeah, no, I think it does actually, because like if I taught for the rest of my life and never like tried to do anything with like art, like I would just be like a miserable sad sack of shit. Like it would not work. So it'd be awesome to make a living out of music. I think that even if like for some reason, like The Rock said that he wanted to be a football star and that didn't work out, like even if that doesn't come to fruition or whatever, like I could teach or like be a professor of teaching or write textbooks about teaching or English or whatever. Like I could do any of those things and be like happy or content or like feel like I'm doing good work. A part of me also wanted to be a dietitian.
Really?
Yeah, I there was part of me that wanted to be a dietitian and go to become a registered dietitian and study dietetics, but they don't make a lot of money, so I don't think I'm going to do that. And it's sad that I have to reference money, but yeah, it is what it is.
You've never, yeah. This is like the first I've known. Like, how long ago? Like, tell me about this. So I started watching on YouTube. There's a registered dietitian, Kara Corey, and she is she's actually like was a like bikini competition competitor, so like bodybuilding basically. But she does like these registered dietitian talks, and her approach to food is like no food is off limits and having a healthy relationship with food. And like from a nutrition standpoint, she can tell you like obviously like what you should be eating, or she does research on it. And I was kind of like, that's again helping people. I once took a personality career assessment thing, and it said that I would be good in a medical field as like a nurse practitioner or like something like that, which I don't know if I would want to be a nurse practitioner, but because that seems like a lot. But to be in that helping caregiving role again would be cool. But again, dietitians don't make a lot, jobs are kind of scarce, blah blah blah. I also think that like in our lifetime it's cool to be multifaceted and do different things. So I don't know necessarily how long I'll stay a classroom teacher. I might, go over into a professorship or something like that. I gotcha. Oh, I didn't know. I could see you being really good at that, but I can't, knowing you now, I can't really see you put that in front of music, like the dietitian stuff. Like I couldn't see you, especially some of the stuff that you, I've heard so far. Like I just don't. I don't say something. Fuck the twanger. I'm just gonna tell people to eat bananas.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Exactly, in that southern accent too.
Exactly. And Brent is the only person who's listened to my music that I've let listen to it thus far.
Yeah, you guys haven't heard it, but I have.
Yeah, it's demoed. It's just demos, so it's not high quality yet. It's getting there though.
You gotta hear it, guys. There's this one part where Gabi sings, dude. Holy shit.
Holy shit. I play guitar and I sing and I scream.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Dude.
But like that would be really cool. I would love to maybe I'm not like, some people would be like, you're not setting your sights high enough. Like, I don't ever want to be a musician who has to play fucking stadiums. Like, I don't want to do that. That's not intimate. That's not fun. Like, I want to play like smaller venues and like the level of fame where like Alison Mosshart and Karen O can like go places and they don't necessarily get recognized. They can still kind of live that life, but through their art they've been able to travel the world and, you know, acquire, you know, this lifestyle where they can go and explore and enjoy like the world and like all that stuff and like be artists, and like that's just awesome. Like, and like the funny thing is I'm like, now I don't want to say I'm a homebody. Like, I love like having like my home base and like feeling comfortable like in my little area or whatever, but like I do want to like travel the world and like see shit and have new experiences or whatever and get pushed out of my comfort zone. Like, that will help me grow so much. So yeah, I'd love to make a career living out of making music. So we will see. Only time will tell when that happens.
Definitely feel you on being able to just like, you know, have that small like art fan base to where you can be at a coffee shop and not have people come up to you and stop you and interrupt you, but
yeah,
you know, like that,
or if it does happen, it's like 1 to 2 people like every so often who are like, hey, I really liked your work, and I'm like, oh, thank you so much, and like that's it, not like mobbed or anything like that.
I had an experience with a guy I went to film school with. I'll drop his name. I'll plug him. His name was John Tate. And
John Tate?
John Tate.
Why do I know that name?
He used to play for the Chicago Bears.
Oh!
So John Tate was in in film school. We met, and he was just like this, you know, big dude. I'm like, damn, he could just whoop anybody's ass, and he's in film school. Because like I'm used to like the skinny hipsters with the checkered shoes, and
yeah,
you know, they kind of sound like this, and they really like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. You know, like I'm used to like that. And then here comes like John Tate, who could easily beat the shit out of the room in one swing. But he was the coolest, most fucking humble guy
That's
you
awesome.
could be. And one time we were all hanging out at a breakfast restaurant right around the block from where our school was. And then some guy comes up to me like, oh, yeah, like just like fangirling over him. And I'm like what, dude, what? And like, you know, but he was really cool about it. And like he shook his hand and talked with them. And then like the guy walked away and I'm like, who are you? And he's like, well, I played for the Bears. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, you know, but me, I mean, sports, I'm not a sports guy at all.
Me neither.
But, and he got recognized a few times when we were in public, but he was still like really like just a great guy and extremely talented too. Like he,
awesome.
Like in our classes, like he made like the best documentary in the class, like far and away. And it was about this woman getting a, I can't remember the transplant, but it was like an organ donor thing.
Wow.
But it was like emotional, and like this guy, like great guy. So John, if you ever hear this, or if you guys know John Tate, I mean, shake the guy's hand. Please do not have a fucking Me Too story out there that I don't know about. But I would want that to where like now I also was in a restaurant in Vernon Hills. It was called Tsukasa, Tsukasa.
Tsukasa of Tokyo.
Yeah.
Awesome food.
Brian Urlacher walked in.
I was on a plane with Brian Urlacher once.
Yeah. So I was eating at the sushi bar with my friend Brian Urlacher, same guy from the Bears, came in, and everyone just like took out their dicks, boy or girl, and just like Brian Urlacher, blah, 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 and just crowded this poor guy's table. And like,
seriously?
Oh, Brian Urlacher, oh my God, may I please lick your asshole, Brian Urlacher? And he's just like I don't want to be Brian Urlacher, lick my asshole famous.
No.
I want to be maybe 1 or 2 guys every once in a while. Shake my hand and be cool, John Tate famous.
I agree. I think that, yeah, like once in a while you get recognized like, oh, hey, I really love your record. Oh, thank you so much. Are you coming to the show? Cool. See you there. Like, that's fine. Like, and I don't want to say people already like come up to me and will say things. I'm used to people already coming up to me and like saying things like, I really like your hair or something like, or, oh, your outfit's so cool. Like, I'm not like I'm always like stylish or whatever, but my hair is like really unique and people will be like, oh my God, I really like your hair. So I'm like used to that micro interaction with people. And I could maintain that level. So if it was just a, hey, I like your music. Thank you. And then like leave it at that. That'd be great. But yeah, never like screaming people I can't go in public. Like I want to be able to like make money off of it and like do the things I want and have the life that I want and kind of that be the end of it.
I would feel fulfilled if one stranger came up to me like, hey, are you Brent? Or like whatever.
Weird Serbian last name.
Yeah. I don't think I would ever use my real last name in any like artistic form. Like even my like social media accounts don't have my real name on there.
Mine don't either. They just say Gabi C.
But if one person came up to like a complete stranger, like, "Hey, Brent, like I just want to say, like I listened to this podcast, or I saw your speech, or I like saw something that you created, and it was really cool, and I just want to say thank you," and like they shake my hand, like I would feel very fulfilled. And
I agree.
It kind of saddens me that I'm not saying that we are on the path to greatness, because there's a little bit of luck and a lot of hard work for that, but there's a lot of people, and it really saddens me to say that will still be the girl getting shit on in the bathtub at their jobs.
There's a lot of people who sit in jobs or positions that they don't enjoy, they just exist in them and think that like that's what life is. Or like the people who like, even my dad, like his job really like stresses him out, and he'll get stressed out in the moment or whatever, be frustrated in the moment, and he'll be able to leave that. But like my dad's just like living for retirement right now, or like working for retirement, and I'm like, I don't ever want to have to be in that space. Like the moment I'm like, welp, only 5 years to retirement, like, oh, that's not a good space to be. Like looking forward to something. It's kind of like we talked about, I'll be happy when retirement comes around. Well, retirement brings a lot of problems that you can't perceive now because you're in the working world. Like, what do you do when you're fucking bored retirement and want to shoot your brains out? Like, what are you supposed to do then?
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried retirement is like. I want to be retired, but at the same time, like, I'm worried that I'd just be bored and want to kill myself.
At least right now, like in your life, you have goals.
Yeah.
It's just when you retire and what goals do you have post-retirement? Like, you just don't sit on the couch, or you don't sit on a beach with, like drinking out of coconuts and, having, like having exotic, like locals, like, like rub lotion on your boobs and then like, but punch your feet until you feel relaxed. Like, that's not, well, maybe like for like a week or two, but like that wouldn't be like your old age. Like that's not like the goal, because you'd get sick of it immediately. Like,
yeah, I know.
After 2 weeks, you're like, okay, enough with the lotion. But
they're getting raw. No, but like think about that there's like people who, like retirement for them is like, I don't know. Like I think of like someone like my grandmother is like really like, she's like really active and she's retired. Like she's part of like town councils, or like she finds projects, or she volunteered at the library for a long time, or she's got like book clubs, she has a singles club, like all this stuff. Like she keeps active. She moved to Kansas and she learned how to line dance. Like she finds shit to do. She used to be part of a Red Hat Society. Like the lady like does cool things or whatever. So I think that like that would be cool, but like I'm also the type of person that like I need to have those things, 'cause otherwise I will just like sit on my couch and not do anything.
I feel so bad for anybody that works at Walmart or just retail in general. There's very few
my
people.
God. Any restaurants or retail. Ugh.
There's just something about a retail position to where you have to look at any employee with contempt, and I don't understand it.
I agree. Like, the thing from working retail for 6 or 7 years, it's just soul sucking. Like when I worked at like the smaller store, it was like a little better. Like the customers were like more loyal and like kind of cool. But when I was working for like the corporate one, it was just like, oh my God, it was just ridiculous. At least at like the little one, like someone did something, I could tell them to go fuck themselves and like leave. You can't do that in the corporate world. Hell, in the corporate one, you could steal from it, and they like, you were basically supposed to let them get away with it. So, it's just ridiculous.
Are pretty much, I think at least with the way my situation is going now, unless I have a severe change in career path, I'm pretty much going to be working until the day I die. So I'll be an old man. I'll just be getting up to go to work, and then I'll just be like, and then like I'll go like, and And then, like, I'll just grab my chest, and then, you know, I won't be with anybody, and then I'll just, like, fall down my lonely stairs. And then the neighbors will smell shit, like, coming, like, permeating and, like, green stink lining out of the roof of my chimney. And then they're going to be like, somebody's got to go check on him. And then the police come to the door, like, a freeze! Oh, he shit on himself, and he's naked, this is weird. You know, because I don't know, when I'm by myself, I don't mind, you know, like, just going to, I don't know, just go into the next room to get a cookie or something naked. And then I'm going to be old and naked with a cookie that's, I didn't even eat the cookie. Like, that's going to be the end
like
of my
you're about
life.
to bite the cookie and then...
You're like, and then I just fucking, like, just, and then, like, I just fucking crack my neck on the stairs, like, on my way to, like, go to work. And, yeah, then they find me, like, oh, it's a shame that he had to miss work, you know, but that's why I got to have a severe, drastic change in my life, because I could see to the grave. Even though I love both of my jobs, I could see myself getting very comfortable in them, and then not taking any risks to go forward.
I'm so hung up on your death story. I just want to go in my sleep at a very old age.
I'm going to ruin someone's Christmas. Like, that's how I'm going out.
That's how you kind of operate. You ruined last year's Christmas with your appendectomy.
I did. I was actually, like, because I couldn't wear any tight shirts or tight pants, I literally ate Christmas dinner with my family in a hospital gown.
Did you really?
Swear to God.
Oh my God.
Because, like, but my stitches were, my wounds were still very tender and still healing, and I couldn't even sleep on my stomach for 2 months.
Oh.
And, you know, I tried wearing, like, just a loose-fitting shirt, and it was really painful. So I'm just there, and they're passing, like, the ham and the sweet potatoes. And it was a clean hospital gown, but I was still wearing a hospital gown nonetheless.
Oh my God.
That was Christmas. There's a Christmas curse in my family, so...
A Christmas curse? Like, there's always, like, something happens around Christmas time.
Tragedy.
Dark
fucking tragedy.
Darkness.
So, like, people are like, oh, I can't wait. Like, I'm so envious of people who fucking...
We can enjoy Christmas because there's not going to be a family tragedy.
Yeah, I'm like, how was your Christmas? Oh, we were just relaxing and we didn't work because we were relaxing, and we had the family over.
There was
and
no
it was
work.
Relaxing.
Yeah.
Where were you, Brent? It's making 911 calls, or I was in the hospital, or panicking for fucking dear life. Every year. I mean, I had one good Christmas, like, ever. I mean, like, well, here's the thing. I have good Christmases. It's just that tragedy-free Christmas.
Yeah.
Only one ever.
Oh, like, my God.
Every year, it's just a bit of fucking tragedy. But, in any case, I would rather deal with that than work on the holidays.
I would also, I don't want to say I'd rather have a family tragedy than work on the holidays, because I feel like then that'll happen.
Oh, no, I'm not saying like, hey, Brent, you have a choice. You either have to work 6 hours at Target on Christmas Eve, or...
Appendectomy.
Or your dad has cancer.
Or your dad has cancer, yeah, no.
I'm like, oh, fuck, cancer, I don't care. Hey,
yeah,
sorry, Pops.
Whatever.
No, I'm just saying, like...
Yeah, no, I think I really do love the fact that my job allows for summer vacation. That being said, it is a total misconception that teachers don't work over the summer. And I'm not even talking like a second job, because that happens, but like... Teachers over the summer are, like, doing professional development, working on a master's, rebuilding curriculum, you know, doing other stuff. Like, sure, I have times where I'm not in my building for for several weeks, but I'm still working and, like, doing things to make sure that the 9 months that I have kids in front of me, I'm doing a good job. So, like, but that is one of the perks. Like, if I ever have kids, like, and I'm still in teaching, we can take summer vacations together. Like, that's pretty awesome, but, yeah.
Not only that, but you have to be on call at all times. So if a student, like, emails you and asks a question and says, like, hey, Miss Gabi, like, even though it's due in 2 hours, what did you want us to do with the assignment? And you're just like, I'm trying to, like, sleep, or I'm trying to just have a date. I'm trying to take a shit.
Literally, the thing that makes teaching draining is they did a study. It's twofold. One is On average, a teacher has 3,000 interactions per day with various people in the building and students. 3,000 a day. In addition to that, the average teacher makes 500 decisions a day. And we're talking like, do I let the kid go to the bathroom or not? Do I let somebody go with them? Do I skip this activity and go for this? Do I, take 25 minutes to eat my lunch, or do I eat it as fast as I can and then use the rest of the time for grading? Like, literally every fucking moment I am making a decision, and it is gnarly. Like, that's what makes teaching draining and horrible.
So, I mean, hell, you'd probably want someone punching your feet and rubbing lotion on your boobs like every summer now. Like,
Dude,
just all the work that you do.
Dude, when I come home from work, I want somebody rubbing lotion on my titties and rubbing my feet.
Yeah, not punching your feet. Like,
oh, punching my feet, sorry.
Yeah, like throwing like Balrog Street Fighter haymakers at your feet.
Yeah, I could see that maybe. I've got like delicate feet, so they'd need to like rub them. They couldn't punch them.
No. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Now,
so
some people want to get their ass kicked for massages, but I could understand that.
Yeah, I'm not into that. But yeah, no, it can be really draining. Like, and I mean, maybe that was just the first year. Like, I learned quickly, like early on, like, to not take work home with me, because like after you literally have been on for 8 or 9 hours, depending on when you got to work and when you left, like, I don't take work home with me. I don't work on the weekends. Like, because I need that for my sanity and for my well-being.
I definitely hear you. Like, I've been working on the weekends for a long time now, so like the fact that we're recording on a Sunday now, it doesn't feel like it's Sunday to me. It kind of feels like Friday, because I'm like switching from one job to the other. And this past summer, for 2 months, I worked 7 days straight, and I only had 4 days off in 2 months.
Yeah, that was gnarly. But at the same time, you made a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm just, I had a lot of goals for the summer that I didn't reach because I didn't have those days off, because I was like legit worn out, and I couldn't have the time to fit in like all the stuff I had for the summer. But I think no matter what, we do have to work, and I would love to do something I love to be, to have it monetized. But it's weird because I found myself in a point in my life where I'm doing 2 different jobs that I never thought I would get caught dead doing. Like, well, I'm not smart enough to be in a teacher or an educator role, and I, used to think I was better than working at a warehouse. But, dude, like, I just love both jobs now, and a lot of people are very miserable with their jobs, and they bring their work home.
Yeah.
And they destroy their families' lives with it.
Yep, I agree. They bring the stress from their job, they bring work home, like... there's definitely teachers that like bring a stack of papers home every single day, and I'm like, dude, like, you put in 8 hours already. Like, there's also like there's pedagogical reasons for things or whatever, but it's just kind of like, what can you be doing in the classroom so you don't have to take that home every day? How are you using your time in the building so you don't have to come in and like slaughter shit and then have to take that stack home? Like, that's just fucking grinding and horrible.
Do you ever, I really feel for the girl who did have to get shit on, and let's just say that she did have like a hubby at home, and like, she comes home, honey, I'm home.
Yeah.
And then like she did wash herself as good as she could, and then like he just like gave her like a, like a hello kiss and how was your day? And like, it wasn't diarrhea this time, so it was a lot better. And he's like, oh, it sucks. And then like, he's like nuzzling, like holding her from behind in like a nuzzle cuddle position, and like there's just a little piece of poo behind her ear that he just sticks his nose in, and he's just like, oh, and she's like, oh, is it there? And he's like, yeah. And then she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Keith, or whatever. I don't know. He's probably, or I'm sorry, John Tate. But John's like really cool, and he's understanding. He's like, all right, you can just go wash yourself and come back. I'll be right here. And then she just washes the shit off her ear, and she's just crying because the smell doesn't go away. It just smells like iron.
Yeah.
And it's on her ear. And then she's just like, I hate my fucking job. And then she hangs out with her friend, and her friend's like, I work at Walmart and I get shit on. And then she's like, really?
Yeah.
Really? You get shit on at your job? I just got off an 8-hour shift, like an 8-hour shit, and it was a poo cocky, just men with like their unclipped toenails standing over a bathtub shitting on my face.
Well, I think we can all agree that at times we feel like the girl getting shit on, like that our job is literally being just defecated on at all times. But at the same time, like, I think that for the most of the people in the world, work is a necessary evil, I guess I will use that word, but like, you know, it's not to say you can't get a lesser evil or a better evil or anything like that, but at times we always feel like the girl getting shit on in the bathtub.
And there's some of them who love it. Like, they're like, no, come on, shit on me now, come on. She's like slapping the guy's ass, and the guy's like, I'm going as fast as I can, Jesus. And then like the guy feels bad for the one being the shitting, and that girl's just like, there's some people that work retail. It's like, oh, I love working customer service.
Oh,
I love having.
Really? There's people who like customer service?
There are very few, and I've met a woman who's just, you know, like, oh, I just love it, and she didn't have that look in her face like the maid in Get Out, where she's just holding back tears, like just with a smile on her face. Like, she like genuinely liked working with the customers, and I'm like, so you like working with an argumentative middle-aged woman who comes in with an old white used T-shirt with yellowed armpits and wants a refund with no receipt, and she's like, but they're fine. So there's some people out there who don't mind doing work, and I think at the end of the day, it's probably not the right thing to say or assume, but I think at the end of the day, people do feel better if they are working, and it's not I'm not saying like if they work at Walmart they're going to feel better, but if they at least are working, they feel better than if they are not working.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I think everyone, to an extent, doesn't want to be working. Like, it'd be great if the money could flow in and we wouldn't have to work, like, for sure. But at the same time, like, you can do a lot of good with the work that you choose, and we can feel fulfillment. I do think it's a big problem when people, like, try to find life fulfillment through work, because it's like, that job could go away at any moment, virtually. So, like, what are you going to do in addition to that will make your life feel fulfilled and good and wholesome?
Hey, I work with a guy. He's in his 60s, and he's a semi-retired. He used to be like a vice president, like executive for companies, and like he was like recently, like he just turned down a job offer for $120,000 a year, and he's like, but like he could just do that, and he's just working. He's working at the warehouse because he just wants something to do, and
wow,
he doesn't need the money like I need the money, like at all. But you know, I think like even with me, if I had a position to where I never needed to work again, what I would do is I would just honestly, I would volunteer probably at 2 organizations, and I would just do that. Like, I would say 5 days a week. I would just like, that would be my day. I would just go, I would volunteer, and I would do my stuff that way.
I totally agree. I think I would like go and try to work at writing centers or volunteer at women's shelters or like animal shelters or like, you know, whatever, to like give back with my time or whatever. Because I can't just sit on my ass. I'll go nuts. So yeah.
Yeah. So, but I say that at least I feel fortunate enough to not have such disdain and misery for my job. Because I remember, okay, so I'm going to just say the worst job I ever had. I want to know the worst job you've ever had. The worst job I ever had, I worked one day, and I was a security officer for a gated community. And it was a very rich and uppity gated community. And it was my first day doing any security for any place. So I went there, and there was a guardhouse. So basically, like, you had to check in at the guardhouse, the ID, and like you had to check the resident list. And then pretty much I was an unarmed cop.
Yeah.
And then I remember, you know, the other guards told me that I had to like drive the patrol vehicle around and like pull people over who were speeding, and to watch out for this one kid in like a red Camaro, because this kid would just drive like 80 down like these suburban streets, and they pulled him over every day, and his dad was rich enough to where he just paid off the ticket. And then like this one guy literally went and then keeled over. And we had to like run over to his house and like check on him and like call the police, and you know, like all this stuff. And we had to man checkpoints, and I didn't have any sort of weapon. I was just like, what the fuck am I doing? And I literally quit the next day. I called my boss at the security place, and I was just like, hey man, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And he's like, all right, fine. And then like he hung up the phone, and then he called me like literally 30 minutes later, and he's like, all right, well, luck just has it in your favor, because turns out that Kmart is closing in Round Lake, and we need you to work, just be a security officer there. And I'm like, I'm fucking doing it. So, like, it just so happened. But that was the worst job, working there for a day. What was your worst job ever?
It was definitely like for like the Six Flags one was really hard because it was like in the sun, sweating all day. Ugh, crap. And then the other one was the corporate assistant manager position at retail. And I have a crazy story about the retail management one where basically a woman stole a t-shirt out of the store and had the tag on it. So it beeped when it went out, and my sales associate saw her run out. And I was like, hey, you can go follow her and see what happens and call security. And, you know, security really, they're not police officers. They really can't do anything other than like be there when you confront the person about what they stole. So, this woman who stole the shirt went into another store, bit off the tag, and put the shirt on. Then came back to my store and said, when I was walking out, the thing beeped. And I said, which I wasn't supposed to say, and the officer's right there. I'm like, the security officer was like, yes, because you stole a shirt that you are now wearing. And she was like, oh my God, what are you talking about? I would never steal. I have children. And I was like, you are wearing the shirt you stole. And here's the thing. Homegirl has like meth mouth and is probably like off her fucking rocker. And so I'm like, she's already wearing the shirt. And I was like, I know you stole that shirt. I saw you steal that shirt. If you ever come in here again, I will call the police. And that was just a huge ordeal. It was so much emotion. It was so horrible. And I did this with the understanding that the company I was working for does not prosecute shoplifters. Well, the next time I work, I got yelled at because I let them get away with the shirt. A shirt that was on sale for $3 that a crackhead put on outside of the store after stealing. And at that point, I said, fuck this shit. I am quitting this job. And I did.
Now the crackhead works at your position and runs the store.
No, not at all. But it was just like, fuck this. No. Absolutely not. And they were like, you should have called the police. And I was like, we don't press charges. And they're like, the police would have pressed charges for you. Like, that's not how that works. You have to go to court to say what you saw and what happened or whatever to pursue charges. No, that's not how it happens. So it was just like dumb, ridiculous. I let a crackhead have a $3 t-shirt that she fucking stole and bit the sensor off somehow. Whatever. Fuck retail.
It's kind of
that was my worst day working there.
Yeah, it's very determined. Like to just bite a tag off.
Yeah.
Were those just like the heavy plastic ones, or did those like
the ones that you have to get off with a magnet?
Oh my God.
We're not talking a paper tag. We're talking the one that you have to press, like the reason it beeped when it went out is because it had the security tag on it, and homegirl fucking bit it off. And then put the fucking t-shirt on in H&M. Like, oh, yeah. So that was the worst job. That was the worst job. It was the worst day I ever had working. And I was like, nope, fuck this. I also had the nasty experience of walking out one day. It was like me and my friend who got me the job, we closed together. And as we were walking out, these guys were yelling at us, like, good night. And my friend was like, bye, like, just being polite. And the guy yells at me. I said, good night, Blondie. And I yelled back, I don't have to fucking talk to you. And he was like, you fucking racist bitch! And like, started like yelling and charging. So my friend grabbed me and we had to go into her car. That was fun. I fucking hate that mall. I hate that mall so much.
Do you think you're ever going to see yourself in a position where you're going to work a shitty job again?
Not if my life depends on it. I mean, I think I'm good enough with like finances and taking care of myself that I have a really good resume. Like I've had like such a breadth of like experience from working in restaurants to customer service to office management to social media to writing center and teaching. Like I could do a lot of different things. So I don't really think so. There'll probably be, I'll find a position where maybe I'm like not as happy or like whatever. But like, again, I don't really think that a job should be my sole source of fulfillment. So like teaching adds to it, but it's not the whole thing. Or like music adds to it, but it's not the whole thing even.
Gotcha.
Well, it might be, but
I hope that I'm at least able to transition if this ever happened to where at the warehouse they just closed down because the location wasn't needed anymore, or even at the writing center, like because we rely a lot on like funding.
Yeah.
They just say, all right, we're doing away with this position. Go fuck yourself. And then, they just say, get out of here, faggot, and then kick my ass out the door. And then, I'm like, oh shit, there goes both of my jobs. Now what do I do? And then I could see myself being thrown into, I don't think I would ever work retail again because I don't want to have the feelings of shooting my mouth again.
Yeah, no, that's right there.
Unless, I've heard horror stories about people working back room, but to me, working the back room sounds a lot better than working at the front with the cashiers and, like, working customer service and just dealing with people who think I'm a piece of shit. Like, when I was a security officer, like, even working at Kmart when it was closing down, like, I had people either thanking me, like, and being appreciative because they thought I was a cop, and then I had people like, oh, you pig, do I look like a thief? And it's just like, just give me the fucking receipt so I could just circle, like, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah.
And, like, I had this one guy, like, read me, like, how the law works and how I'm supposed to detain him if I suspected him, and it turned out, like, he didn't know who I was, but this actually was my next door neighbor that I grew up with.
Oh my god.
I haven't seen him in 10 years, and he came there, and he was just being a dick face. And, it's just like, oh, God, I'm not a cop. Like, I don't even have the only weapon I have on me is maybe if I took out, like, my car key and used it, like, as, like, brass knucks. But, like, I was not armed. I was just in, like, a shitty white shirt, and I had black dress pants, and, the shirt had the badge of the security job on there. And it's just like, dude, I want to secretly shoot my mouth. Like, can you just...
Well, and I think what we're getting at is, like, have you heard the phrase, like, you either live to work or you work to live? It depends on, like, what your perspective is on your job and, like, whatever. And, like, I would say right now, like, the current job I have, I'm working to live and making money so I can do the things I want to do that keep me wanting to be alive. But I'd like to switch that one day. Like, it'd be cool to just, like, be jazzed every day to wake up and make music or whatever, be in a new city or something like that.
I wish I could get to maybe it'll happen within the next year depending on how serious I get, but or like how much I let the worst parts of myself take over, but I want to get to the point where I'm able to save for something that is not a bill.
You are already getting there though. You're already taking those steps. You're already doing that.
But it's just like, Jesus, man, like these bills. But then, like, if I want to say, like, oh, I want to buy, like, use this as for a security deposit, or if I want to, like, I actually really, like, my fucking soul needs to go on a 2-week trip without my phone and just, like, let my thoughts catch up to what has happened in my life.
That sounds awesome.
For the past few years. And, thinking maybe New Mexico. But,
yeah.
Because I loved, I took the Amtrak there a few years ago, and I fell in love with like the mountains and the landscape.
Isn't
and, like,
it beautiful?
Oh, dude, it's badass.
Have you been to Arizona?
No.
Similar but different.
Yeah, so but something like that, like just go on a mountain and just overlook the horizon and just be like, what the fuck do I want out of my life?
Yeah.
Because I can't really do that in my bedroom. There's no mountains there.
No.
But I would say that. Everybody does have to work, and it's a shame that a lot of people hate their jobs, and it's like this economy of just misery, but people still show up and do their jobs well most of the time, because the people that just do such a shitty job, it's really rare for them to just stick around forever. Like, there's nobody that has had a job for 20 years who is, like, disputedly shitty.
I work with some teachers who
never mind then.
Who have tenure.
Okay.
But for most of the time, it's the case that if you suck at your job, you're not gonna be there for 20 years.
Yeah. So, but yeah, sometimes you're just the girl getting shit on, like physically or metaphorically. But and you can't just be the person that's doing the shitting either, because that's you still. I don't know. I think if you're a boss and you're just shitting on people, that's not a good thing to do. But if you're the one being shit on, that's not good either. So, but it's just all of us trying to find happiness and trying to balance out all the money and bills and and
the living that goes on during and between those times.
Yeah, food too. Jesus Christ. Like
working in food?
No, just like buying. Like you need to buy food.
Yeah, it's a thing. You need it.
Like you can't even say, I'm just gonna go without food for a month. Like, no, you just and then you just get your fucking body will just collapse.
Agreed.
From starvation.
No, totally. So, well, this was a productive conversation on work, especially because tomorrow's my first day of work back at school. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be good. I'm looking forward to being a better and better teacher.
And hey, I'm not going to say good luck because you already got this, dude.
Thanks, dude. All right. This has been Coffee and Catastrophe with Brent and Gabi. Our website is coffeeandcatastrophe.com. You can like us on Facebook at Coffee and Catastrophe. You can follow us on Twitter at CCWBG. All of our episodes post on our website as well as iTunes, Stitcher, Castbox. Please remember to like, subscribe, leave a review, all that good stuff.
So take care of yourselves and be good to each other.
Bye now. God damn it.